that, I told Chinny, he's an asset to us. And if we can, it's like any player, and by the way, it's not the first time a player's asked me in my career of 20 years about being traded, so this one became more public. And I said, if there's true value out there and it's something that we feel like makes sense for our hockey club, I certainly will look at it. But I told him back 8 weeks ago when we talked is, if it doesn't happen, you got to come here and prove that to the coaches and your teammates that you're capable of being a good player for this hockey club. And so I've met with them, Dean's met with them, and obviously he got here early, which is a good sign. He came in great shape, and he's been, so far, there's no signs of it, and I've told him and his agent that, right now, consider he's a Blue Jacket, and to make the best of it.
Adam, back right.
You guys make that trade yesterday. Just how confident are you with the guys in net heading into the season?
Well, I always feel that that's one position you can't add. It's hard to add depth at goaltending during the season, so you got to have it off the start of the year. And, I've said all summer that was, to be honest, I don't have nightmares too often, but every nightmare I had this summer was about goaltending, so I felt like we better address it. And we tried a lot of different things, different angles, some goalies that were younger that didn't need waivers. And when we came down, we also said we could wait till the waiver wire. We know there'd be goalies there, and then we have to carry 3 goalies with our hockey club, which is a little harder to manage. So we really liked Ivan. He's an older, young NHL player, but an older player, had great numbers in Russia. And we just felt that, because of his contract, his cap hit, that he was a guy that if he doesn't make our club, that I think will be a great insurance policy for us.
And we'll stick to the right, third row, Joe.
Don, how much of an advantage is it that it was with a quiet off season and with some continuity with Dean as coach and, not much rancor or anything?
Yeah, no, it's again, I go back, we had a good group here, not just players, the coaching staff and that. So, we had a plan in place. We went into the off season and addressed that right around the draft time. And I think when you don't make too much news during the summer, that's okay. That's a good thing. I know it's boring for you guys, but we made the one trade on draft day to get Coyle and Wood. We felt that that addressed some of our needs, getting a right-hand shot center and energy player. So we like any year, you talk to people throughout the summer, but there wasn't, as you see around the league, this year is different. First of all, the free agent market wasn't as deep as people thought it might be because of players all re-signing with their own team. And everybody's got cap because the cap going up. There's only a few teams that, years past you'd have 8 or 10 teams that have cap problems. We're looking to move players before the training camp because they had to get under the cap. That hasn't been the issue this year. So it's pretty quiet off season for everybody. And, things will heat up a little bit. You'll go the first 10 games and somebody will realize that they're not where they need to be and they want to make changes. But I think right now it'll be status quo for a while.
We'll go second row left here to Tim.
Don, obviously you had Jet coming in this season on the one-way. You've gotten to see plenty of him the last couple of seasons in spot duty. What did he show you, especially at the end of the season, that in addition to the contract meaning he was going to be up here full-time, that he was ready for, that his play showed he was ready for it full-time?
Did you say Jet?
Yeah, Jet.
I figured when you got through it. Well, Jet, that was the thing last year, as we talked about just a minute ago, having a guy that is always ready. To carry 3 goalies just doesn't make sense. So Jet was up and down quite a bit through the year. And then when he finally came back and stayed here, if you watch his game, he's very controlled goalie. His rebound control is outstanding. He catches everything. Very rare does he give up a rebound, which players like that in front of him. Players like to play in front of him. But he's just cool and calm in there. He doesn't, so he's going to be given every opportunity here. Contracts are one thing. I always say contracts are what we pay a player. It's not doesn't dictate who plays on our team, and that's any position. We're here to win hockey games, and if Jet gives us the best opportunity to win, he's going to play.
We'll go to Hedge, first row right.
As we
seeing with young players. Development is not always linear, you know. Last year it did seem like all of them took a step forward for the most part. How is it difficult, do you think, going into this season for those guys to keep progressing and take another step even forward, and how critical will that be, you know, to basically avoid that step back?
Yeah, no, I think if this was their second year or third year in the league, you'd be more concerned. But you know, most guys you're talking about they're going to be in their fourth year or fifth year. So I think they can build off of what they did last year. But it also goes into what they did this summer. And you know, this summer these guys, you know, we were getting weekly reports on their conditioning and how they're doing. And you know, now we see them here in person. You know, they took the summer seriously. You know, it was a long summer for them. Because when you don't make the playoffs, it is. But they took their summer seriously. So as they all come back here and saw every one of them's here obviously now, and they all look like they put a good summer in. So there's no reason to expect they won't take another step.
Go to Mark here on the left.
Hey, Don, we know the NHL did rule about the 5 players. What consideration or just what stance has your team come up with in if you would possibly consider any of them?
Yeah, we haven't talked in great length about it. Well, obviously, this came out on a Saturday about the players, and you know, we're very happy where we are with our team right now. So, you know, I don't see any changes at this point. And again, we haven't internally even discussed whether we'd even have interest in the players. Obviously, I think they can be signed as of October 15th and can play in the league after December 1st. So, you know, we'll see how things go here, but really haven't discussed it at all.
I'll go to Ed in the middle.
So I think there were very few folks who expected the defense to look the same in 25-26 as ended in 24-25. Even though it's the same group, what do you expect to be different this year, and what is your expectation for the defensive group?
Yeah, I think we grew as a defense core as the season went on, and you know, we added Matejchuk in January, and I think he proved at a young age that he was capable of playing here. So, you know, adding, you know, if you think about how we started and we picked up Fabro and brought Matejchuk up, you know, I truly believe our defense. I know we gave up goals at times. If you really break down, and I've done it 100 times, you know, our goals against might seem a little bit high, but we had a couple outliers where we gave up 7 or 8 goals in a couple games that you got to, in my mind anyways, just subtract those away when it's games gets out of control. But with Werenski leading the charge back there, you know, and that's why it was important for us. You know, we looked around the free agent market, and you know, when it came back to our guys, Proby and Fabro, you know, we felt that they were the best thing for us, and we knew them. Sometimes it's better to know, you know, what you don't know, and we could continue on with them. So we felt very comfortable signing those guys, bringing them back, and bringing obviously, you know, we still got Gudbranson and Matejchuk up here, and Severson and Werenski. So, and then we got, you know, a couple guys that are pushing down there, Damian Hunt, and we brought in Smitty on a tryout who I had in Carolina as a great team guy, and that. So we're gonna have good competition there.
Great. Gordy?
I think you've Owen Sillinger, Morelli, maybe Dumais. Is there anybody else who may not be ready for the start of camp?
Yeah, Matejchuk's going to be on his own for this week. He's got a little bit of a grind, so he's going to just not skate with the team. It's day to day, but we think by the weekend he'll be back with the team. Dumais day to day. He got hurt yesterday in the game. And the only other one was McHugh, same thing. He played the rookie tournament there, and he's day to day. Nothing long term at all. Morelli's the long term. Sillinger's good to practice. He can't compete yet in games. Yeah, no contact. Morelli's out until probably January.
We'll go to second row right, Craig.
Hey, Don, going off of that, your expectations for this season, a lot of it are based on being healthier. But how can you handle another season of 300-man games lost or losing a star player along the way?
Well, you know, I'm a positive thinker that that's not going to happen this year. And, you know, the tough thing last year was some of the injuries, how they happened right off the start of the year. We lost a bunch of guys for long term right off. Jenner gets hurt the day before opening night and plays, late February, March there, and lost Chinnikov after 6 weeks. Left Brunson game 3 or 4. You're gonna have some injuries during the year. There's no doubt. It's just hopefully we don't sustain any of those long-term injuries, especially early in the year. But you got to look at it. Again, and go back to how we approached the summer and trained in the summer. All that goes hand in hand and being ready for the season to start. We got a busy schedule off the bat. Some of the veterans have played 2 of those games right off the bat, which usually veterans don't play until later in the training camp. So hopefully we stay healthy and get through this and get ready for October 9th.
We'll go to Tim here on the left, second row.
Don, Adam Fantilli obviously had that great close to the season last year. Coming into year 3 for him, what's the expectation from you guys as far as how he continues to develop and becoming more of an integral part of this team?
Yeah, I think if you really watch his development last year, he was going good and taking the pressure off him because he was playing behind Monahan, where Monahan and Marchenko and whoever else was on the left side were getting the number 1 and 2 pair D. So he wasn't seeing the top pair as he was before. So that helps. But with the same kind of layout this year, and then last year when Monahan got hurt, he stepped in that role and never missed a beat. But I think it was because of the first 4 months he had in the season that he was able to do that. So I don't see any reason why he would slow back down this year. He's going to, you can ask Dean who he's going to play with, but if he plays with Kent again and whoever he plays on the left side there, I mean, that's a skill line, and there's no reason to think they're not going to put up their points.
Great. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll bring in Dean Evason next. Thanks, Tom.
Great, thank you. I don't know, how many rounds of golf you should play this summer?
A lot. I played a few with you, too.
All right, if you have a question for Dean, please raise your hand. We'll get you a mic. All right, go to Joe, third row right.
With training camp on the way, what are your goals? What are your priorities here as it begins?
Well, same basically as every year. Obviously, we were going to make some tweaks. Systematically, we want the guys to, get up to speed with those type of things. Obviously, we want to get into game shape as quickly as we possibly can, and it's a fine line now because you practice 3 days and we're going to play 4 games in a row. Tough to get. You got to have 8 veterans in every game, so it's a little bit of everything. Obviously, we want to make sure that we're ready. The nice thing for us at this point, with having 1 year and a lot of guys that are coming back, they can teach themselves and teach the younger guys as much as we will as a coaching staff.
Go back right to Adam.
Don said that he doesn't often have nightmares, but when he did, it was about the goaltending. So he thought that they would want to make a change. How do you feel about what's in net heading towards the season?
I never have nightmares. No. Yeah, we're excited about, obviously we've just signed traded for another guy, and we're excited about our goaltending. Obviously, you guys know, and we've seen what, Jet did at the end of the year, and we're extremely happy with the way Elvis is competing and battling, and the way he's conducted himself as a teammate. So we're real excited in that.
Go back center to Dave.
Almost felt like if you guys had an 85-game season last year, you're probably in the playoffs. But I know it's hard to keep momentum 6 months after a hot streak. But those final 6 games, what did you see in that team that you think you can carry over into October this year?
Well, it's funny because we just talked about it this morning as a staff, and we've put together our videos to show the guys, and each coach has a little, or has his kind of department. Systematically, we were just like dialed in, and maybe that's because it was the end of the season. Maybe because we had a lot of the guys back, obviously, in those 6 games. So yeah, we were all on the same page, and that's what we'd like to continue here moving forward. That they were all dialed in with the systems, but they're working not only hard, but working together. And that's what we need to continue here to move forward.
Go to Hedge in the front right.
Dean, last year at this time, from an external standpoint, there were like zero expectations for this team at all, and you guys finished 2 points short of the playoffs. Is it fair now this year to have playoffs as the expectation for you guys?
Stanley Cup's our expectation. That's what we want, right? We have to make steps in order to get there. And that first step is obviously to make the playoffs, and then, you know, each round after that. So yeah, I mean, our expectations are to have a great season, make the playoffs, and then we want to, you know, win the first round and then move forward. So, yeah, you know, you guys put expectations. We want to see the guys compete every night, and then we'll see where we sit. Our guys have did a good job of staying focused in that regard. You know, everybody's kind of different in that regard, where it's, you know, some guys set goals, you know, short term, long term, everybody's different, but end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen. So every night that we go out there and play, we play hard. Every day that we're training, we train hard, we get ourselves ready, put ourselves in a good position to have success.
We'll go to Mark here on the left.
Hey, Dean. So the preseason, though, this will be the last season. It'll be 7 games. Then you're going to go to, I think, 4 in the future. So how do you make sure you get the most out of the 7 games? And is it a good trend that it's going to be less preseason games in the future?
Yeah, I think so. First, it is difficult, like especially with those 4 games, and not difficult. It's just a little bit more thinking involved in trying to, you know, because you don't want guys playing 3 in a row, you know, and you want to just kind of space it out, and trying to get 8 veterans in each game. It's difficult to you know, come up with that game plan. We've got a template of each game that we want to. That we have, and it'll get tweaked obviously with you know, as we move forward. Are we excited about 4 games? Yeah, I think so. I think it'll give us better opportunity to have, you know, that practice time and that opportunity to you know, really dial everything in, as I just said. Like sometimes when you're playing, like especially those 4 games, like you're not a team, right? Like you've got guys here and there and everywhere, and so, but you know, it'll be good to have 4 games, but with these 7 games, we will hopefully do the right things, get the guys the right amount of games. I know there's no player that's not playing less than 3. So you know, some guys will play a little bit more, and some guys will play that 3.
Go to Porty here in the front.
Hey, Dean, have you seen Voronkov now that he's arrived here, and does he look like he's put in the work you challenged him to do this summer?
Yep.
So
He
also-
looks fantastic. I didn't watch the skate, but he came into the office right away, and we had a chat, because, you know, like when he left, we challenged him to be in fantastic shape. When he gets back, he is.
Go to Ed in the middle.
There were some stretches last season where the team gave up goals in bunches, some long stretches that ultimately might have cost the team a spot in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You're going into 25-26 with the same group. What's your level of comfort, and what do you think can change this season from last season with the defensive
Well, I
groups?
caught the tail end of Don and talking about our defensive core, right? It's the same group, basically. They understand how we want to play the game. They understand how, you know, that systematically, but more our competitive level of and keeping pucks out of the net. We thought we did a great job at the end, as we've talked about. That's what we have to build on. To be honest with you, we're putting the videos together, and we use those last 6 games. This is who we are, right? This is how we play the game. We stayed in hockey games when maybe we didn't have our legs through those 6. You know, there's a lot of challenges that we, you know, had last year that we were going to correct. But yeah, we feel real good about not only our defensive core, our goaltending, but our overall structure defensively to keep the puck out of the net to win hockey games.
Second row left here, Tim.
Dean, obviously you had a lot of young guys really going through their first playoff push last season, you know, with the struggles that you had in March, even despite the run you had in April to get there. How How much of a lesson do you think it was for those guys to kind of see what it takes when the games get really tighter in March, when everything gets more intense? And how have you sensed that those guys have taken those lessons and applied them through the summer to get them ready for camp?
Well, I think it's a great point. Those 6 games, like besides the last one, we're in it, right? Like we're grinding. Like we were there. We were, the last game. That's the only game that we weren't in a playoff race. So yeah, the experience that they gained, the knowledge that we got from all of those games, not only those this season, but yeah, it has to help us. And regardless if you're young or old, to go through that and to go through that together. We had a lot of guys come back. If you look at our roster at the end, basically it was our group. So yeah, do we hope that will set us up to move forward and give us that little edge or a little more experience to get that first step of making the playoffs? Yeah, for sure we do.
Go to Hedge in the front right.
When we look back at last year and how you guys stayed in it right to the end, you had a number, if not all, of your young players really seem to take a step forward. And sometimes development isn't always linear. How tough is that for them to come back and maybe meet those expectations or exceed them and take another step forward?
Yeah, just to be that little more experienced, that that opportunity to train through the summer and not only get your body in the shape that you need, but your mindset as well, your confidence level coming in. It's such a wonderful time this time. Everybody's so optimistic, right? I mean, it's just like everything's fresh and exciting, and just walking in that room now where, last year walking in that room was a heck of a lot different, right? So you walk in there now and the banter going back and forth is fantastic. Everybody that's here, basically, we got a few new faces, but are familiar with each other. They did all the right things to become a team throughout that season last year, and we're looking forward to them to continue that moving forward.
Jeff, second row middle.
Segues right into what I wanted to ask. As far as a year ago at this time, you come in and you're learning so much about these players, this organization. Everything was so new.
Yeah.
Now you've been here a year. You've got to know the guys. You got to know them as people and as players. As a coach, what kind of flexibility does that give you going into this year to change things? You might mention maybe changing some systems a little bit or tweaking them. Like, what does this allow you to do as a coach now that you have a full year with this group and know them the way that you know them?
Yeah, no, it's a good question because we have our base, right? Like we know how we're going to play the game. Now those little tweaks aren't a massive tweak. We're not teaching our complete neutral zone. They know how we're checking in the neutral zone. They know how we're transitioning in the neutral zone. Now we're going to tweak a couple things, and so it'll be, hopefully the flow will be better. We can get up to speed really quickly so that they're not thinking as much as just reacting, because we know how to play the game and how we want to structurally go about things. And then, as I said earlier, the exciting part for us is that when a player's sitting in that room that's maybe, Charlie Coyle, and he can say, what are we doing in the neutral zone, off the neutral zone face-off losses, and Monahan can say this is exactly what we do, and as opposed to him, while waiting to talk to a coach or what have you, they'll start teaching themselves, which is exciting for us. I've always said the quicker you can give the room to the players, the better off you're going to be. The accountability, just taking that, forward with their responsibility and understanding how we want to play and accountability and all that kind of stuff. They'll make each other accountable. It won't be as much on us. Obviously we'll have to do it, but the players will, lead in that area as much as we will.
Go ahead, Porty.
Dean, you probably have a really good idea of what you're looking at lines-wise, pair, and goal. Is there a question you really want to get answered during training camp? Are there a few questions you want to get answered in training camp, or how do you look at these next couple?
Yeah, no, that's we've talked about it, and as we've talked about before, we've got a magnet board that's, it's it's actually one of the most fun things you can do as a coach. Just play with the magnet board, yeah. And you can flip people around, but then you have to take that into practice and then obviously games. So we're going to see some different combinations, say, D pairs, combinations up front to see if, because we do have whatever 3 new forwards that are coming in, so who fits with them. We know that Monty and Marchie work well together, right? So we've got those type of situations within the group, but now we can maybe put somebody else there. Boone played really well there, just to use them as an example. Voronkov played extremely well there. Chinny's played well there. So, we'll play around with it a little bit and, hopefully find, the right combinations. But to answer your question, I don't think there's one area. It's just we're excited to, to get it going. It's nice to have that familiarity of people who are playing together. But we'll still play with it a little bit, as all coaches do.
Thanks, Dean.
Thanks, guys.
We'll have Boone here in a moment.
Who?
Jack, keep an eye on the food. Make sure Dean doesn't take it all. All right, now we've settled that. If you got a question for Boone, please raise your hand. We'll get you a mic. Porte.
Boone, welcome back to season 25. How different does this vibe feel this year than last year in all ways? You know your teammates, you know your coach, your GM now. It's a happier, obviously, time of life, just what you're feeling now versus a year ago.
Yeah, I think it's just excitement. If I was, to think of one word, I guess it's just being back here with the guys, just really getting excited to get going here. So it's been a fun couple of weeks having everyone back to town and skating together and getting ready to go. So that's just what I'm most looking forward to is getting back and competing with that group. And we're excited to get going. So for it to finally be here feels good. And yeah, like I said, we're pumped.
Hedge.
Boone, last year, at the end of the year, actually, even when I talked to you this summer, whenever we would try and talk to you about how great last season was and just as far as exceeding expectations, there was always a yeah, but, right? Like, yeah, but we didn't make it from all you guys universally. Is it fair, to say that you guys are looking at this season that it's make the playoffs or, not bust, but, that's the goal is just make the playoffs or else kind of thing?
The way I look at it, I think we learned a lot last year as a group, and we came together a lot. We showed the resilience that we have in that room, and carrying that forward to this year is a goal of ours, but obviously to build on it. And, expectation-wise, I think the way I look at it would be, right now my expectation is that we're going to be ready for a good training camp. We're going to be ready to go, focused on training camp, putting the work in to get our team, ourselves prepared for game one and go from there and be ready to compete every night, be ready to be a hard team to play against. We're team first, and we're going to be, focused on that and getting ourselves prepared to be the team we want to be throughout the season, no doubt.
Go back right. Adam.
Last year, there was a lot of new, as Portsy touched on. How different is your role as a captain in a year like last year versus now coming in with so much in place, the expectations a little bit higher, and not, a first-year head coach and first-year GM?
I think every year brings its own challenges, and with that comes opportunity to show what kind of resilience you have in yourself or in your group and in your team. So like I kind of mentioned, I think we found that last year. We saw that, and you know, the resilience we showed was tremendous throughout the whole season with whatever challenge came our way, and there'll be different ones this year. And you know, that's why you can't, I guess, look too far ahead. You know, right now the expectation for myself and the team is to have a really good training camp and get ourselves in the best spot to get going here, game one. So, you know, as far as all that, I think stuff is going to happen, stuff's going to arise throughout the season, and right now we're just excited to get back out there with each other.
Mike, front left.
Boone, do you feel like you've been here for all 25 seasons?
That's funny. No, it's gone quick. It doesn't feel like, you know, obviously this is my 13th season, entering the 13th, and it goes quick, but just as excited as my first, no doubt. So, you know, it's a special year for us with the 25th anniversary, and, you know, we obviously want to make that a good one.
You're in a good spot now. Can you conjure another camp that you look forward to, like you're looking forward to this one? I know it's a lot of them, but.
Yeah, like, are you saying am I?
Yeah, what year were there years where you had this kind of feeling? Or is it always pretty old?
Not that I can remember. I mean, like I kind of say, every year's been different and in its own way, and just in a good spot this year, obviously, and feel like I've personally had a really good summer and really good you know, preparation for this, and you know, the excitement's just been building since being back into town, and all the guys coming back. So we have, you know, no doubt we have a lot of guys from last year, and that's what, you know, kind of excites it even more is the steps we kind of took as a group, and knowing, you know, trusting each other, knowing exactly what you're going to get from the guys in the locker room when you look around, and building that trust together, and at the end of the day going out and competing together, and that's what we love doing, and we love doing it with each other. So we're just very excited for that.
Mark?
Hey, Boone, there's going to be some changes to preseason starting next year. There's 7 games this year, I think 4 in the future. From your point of view, for how long you've played, how long do you need in order to be ready? Number of preseason games in order to be ready for the regular season?
I'm not going to throw a specific number at you, but no, everybody's a little bit different. Obviously, you want to feel the game action before it starts, and I think that's important as much as you know, try to get it out of training camp or drills in practice. You want to get some game action, and it's just, you know, compete against a different team, and you know, I think everyone will get a few games in, and you know, next year, even when it goes down, we'll have the opportunity to get in a few games as well. So, you know, that's just trying to prepare yourself, kind of maybe, you know, get the timing back, some speed, you know, systematically. So I think it's important to get a few in and go from there.
Go to Craig in the far right.
Hey, Boone, with the change in some of the support staff, you know, equipment, fitness, how does that affect the players? With those guys so much, how much does that change for you?
Yeah, it's definitely, you know, different, and you know, seeing some new faces in those roles. But for us, it's also exciting, and you know, getting to meet them and seeing what they're bringing, their knowledge, and you know, pretty much everyone that's came in has been around hockey for a long time, and they've, you know, been to other teams and different leagues, whatever it may be, and they're just bringing that knowledge and different ideas or whatever it may be. That's just going to help us. And at the end of the day, they're part of our group, and they want the same as us. They want the best you know, individually, or you know, whatever guys might be going through to perform their best, and that's going to help us as a team. So at the end of the day, we're in it together, and so far it's been great. And you know, meeting all of them, they've been fitting in well and getting along with all the guys. So I think you know, it's exciting for us.
Mets?
And I think you said the other day you had 25 guys on the ice. You've been doing these preseason skates. What do you learn about kind of the feeling that guys bring back during those preseason skates, both emotionally and how they're ready for the season, and physically, and what you can tell them in terms of their readiness?
I think you can tell right away the guys were prepared to come in. Guys put the work in this summer. I know last year, with the way it ended, we were a hungry group, and we wanted to take that into the summer, and everyone kind of goes their own ways, but I trust everybody in that room that they go and do the right things and come back in great shape, and that's what I noticed. Everybody did that, and everybody looked stronger, faster, ready to go, just mentally, and that's what's exciting for us now that we can get back together and see each other skate a few times, and before we really get going for real. So there's no doubt guys put the work in, and we're hungry to get going.
Tim here, second row left.
Boone, obviously, when you came in the league, you were a young guy on a team that was starting to work towards this playoff push and eventually, making the playoffs on a regular basis. Now you're kind of on the other side of that as a veteran, with these young guys that are growing as you're trying to push for the playoffs. What's it like being on the other side of that, watching these young guys really blossom as you try again this year to get back to the postseason?
Yeah, I think, obviously we have some, tremendous young guys that, took some huge steps last year, but not only that, just throughout the whole locker room, no matter how old or young you are, whatever you want to say, it's guys, the steps that guys took are very encouraging for our group. I don't think, since you're not a young guy, you can take a big step. We had older guys that took huge steps last year too, and you can go up and down our lineup of guys that contributed and stepped into bigger roles, and I think you need that as a team to be better and have that internal competition. So it's exciting that everybody pushes each other to get better, and I think we have that in the room. And with that, I think as a group we're just going to continuously to push each other and strive for more out of each other.
We'll go to Ed in the middle.
So the core is the same this season, but there are some new faces, especially with your forward pairings or trios. Do you have any personal relationships with those guys from before, or what have your experiences been in playing against them?
I didn't know them personally, as far as Woody Lundstrom and Charlie Coyle, but obviously being in the league for a while, played against them, for a number of years, and know what they bring on the ice and how hard they compete, and the experience they bring with playing in big time games, playoff games. And, the other side of it of, speaking with players that have played with them, and all good reports, and now getting to meet them, first and foremost, they're team guys, they're team first guys, great teammates, and, that's what we have in that locker room. So they fit in, no problem. They've been great guys, great additions, and excited to get going with them and our group, this season. So they'll help us.
Great. Thanks, Booner.
Thanks, guys.
All right, we have Sean Monahan next. You know the drill. I hope by now. So who's got the first question for Monahan? Go ahead, Hedge.
Hey, Sean. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Good to see you. The way last season ended, it's all of you guys, to a man, seemed, obviously very, very disappointed in how it ended. How much can you take? It's been 5 months or whatever. How much can you stretch that feeling into the start of this year? And should the playoffs be the expectation for this team?
Yeah, I think season ended. It was obviously disappointing, but also encouraging. And I think I've been here for a couple of weeks now, and you feel the excitement around the rink from the guys, the staff. I think expectations-wise, we gotta, every time we step on the ice for a game, we gotta be ready to get 2 points. And if we do that consistently and stick together as a team, I think we have a good chance of going where we want to be.
Go to Mike here, front left.
Sean, a year ago, all of this was in a much different place, as were you, obviously, probably most impacted. How you doing, and how do you feel now?
I'm doing good. I feel good. It's definitely a different situation now. But I mean, at the same time, for me personally, it's something I think about daily, and it still plays a big part on my day-to-day life. And I mean, this just being back here and being with the guys, I mean, it makes things feel better.
Back right, Adam.
Sean, what is the difference for you as a player with a second-year coach as opposed to going into that first season, and how much more helpful can it be having gone through that whole season with Dean Evason?
Yeah, no, I think it's a big difference for sure. I mean, you know the style he wants, the style we're going to play. Yeah, I learned a lot last year. I think the first handful of games, and I guess throughout the year, different situations, you're still learning. And I mean, take that all in last year and have some chemistry with some guys and whatnot. I think that's going to go a long way to start this season.
So many guys on this roster last year were a complete mystery to you in terms of maybe even their names, but their games for sure. You know you've got some talent around you now. You know what a playoff team feels like. Does this feel like a playoff type team to you?
Yeah, it does. I think we got a mix of just about everything on our team, from toughness to skill to, I mean, high-end Norris defensemen. We got great goaltending, and we got also a mix of young guys who are, I mean, not trying to steal spots from guys, but earn more in this league and, I mean, prove themselves. So it's a fun locker room to be a part of, and every time we go on the ice, it's always a blast.
We go Tim, second row left.
Sean, speaking of the young guys, obviously you saw a lot of Adam Fantilli last season, especially the way he grew towards the end of the season and finished. Where do you think he grew the most, towards the end of last season, and what are your expectations for what do you hope to see out of him this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think he grew, I mean, in all parts of his games. I think the maturity of, I mean, making the right plays and, I mean, doing that. He's so fast. He's got a great shot, and, I mean, he's so competitive. So, I mean, putting that all together it's a recipe for success. And I think he did that last year. And, I mean, as a group, we don't expect anything less this year. So I know he put in a lot of work in the summer, and, I mean, he looks great right now. So I expect a big year from him.
More questions for Sean? Hedge? Go Hedge and then come back to Mark.
When you were in Fantilli's position or Kent Johnson's position when you were younger and coming up in the league, I'm sure you've made some big strides in certain years. Is it tough when you're a young guy to have that season where you make a big breakthrough and then have to come back and like meet those expectations or exceed them again?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a player, that's the fun part of the game, is you're trying to get better every year. And I mean, I remember when I was in my first couple years in the league, it was hard work. I mean, a lot of video sessions, a lot of extra work with the coaches. But yeah, no, I think once you have a good season, you want to prove that it's not a one-off, and you want to be a consistent player in this league. And I mean, pave out, I mean, a great career.
Mark, you're on the left.
Yep.
Hey, Sean, I remember last year you specifically said you were in the best shape of your life. Just how nice has it been for you to be able to get into a routine with everything, all of your injuries from the past, to be able to, you're healthy and now you can just be in a routine?
Yeah, no, it's nice. I think, yeah, I felt great last year. Unfortunately, a bad bounce on my wrist, but no, I recovered well, and yeah, feeling great. And I mean, just like everybody, I'm excited to get going here. The real thing began.
Anything else? Great. Thanks, Monty.
Thank you.
You look great. All right, we have Zach Werenski next. We'll start with Aaron Portzline in the front row.
So Z, correct me if I'm wrong, but your pro career started with a Calder Cup championship and then 4 straight NHL seasons in the playoffs. Did you think it was going to be that way, just that was going to be the thing? And how much have you missed that, and do you feel like that's attainable to get back there this year?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely was a little bit spoiled early on in my career. I know when I signed with Cleveland right out of college, I couldn't have guessed I was going to win a Calder Cup. I thought I was going there for a few weeks, play a few games, and then go home for the summer. But next thing I know, it's 4th of July, and I'm driving home. So definitely spoiled there. And then coming to Columbus, making the playoffs 4 years in a row, making it to the second round once. You kind of get used to it, and you think that's what's going to happen every year. And definitely was in for a little bit of a rude awakening the years following, but that's sports, and I definitely think it's something that we can get back to here with the guys we have and the core we have, and it's our job to do that now.
Mark left.
Hey, Zach, first time talking to you since the men's world. So just the overall thought of what you were able to do for Team USA to help them get their gold medal. Now, what kind of a boost can that give you, that kind of a performance going into this season?
Yeah, it was super important for me to be there. I think just with all the world stuff going on for the Olympics, Four Nations last year, and this world schedule, I felt like it was important to be there if I could. And the U.S. hasn't won that tournament in, I want to say, 92 years. So that was super special. It's something I'll always remember. And in terms of a boost, I mean, obviously it's different team, different teammates, different situation. But I think individually, it reminded me, speaking of winning on the first question, how fun it is to win. And I can't imagine, winning the ultimate goal of the Stanley Cup. So definitely makes me hungrier in areas like that where, I kind of have missed that feeling of winning, haven't had enough of it, and just want to bring that here. I want to be part of the solution here and be part of the reason why we bring a cup to Columbus. And I definitely think we have the team in here to do that. It's a step-by-step process, and the first step's to make the playoffs. But that's something that, I think reminded me how fun winning is. So definitely grateful for that.
Go to Dave in the back center.
Yeah, you guys essentially bring back the same main core, a couple minor tweaks. 31 other teams all assume all their guys are going to get better as well. So how confident are you in the continuity and running it back basically with the same roster?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, a lot of guys had great years last year. The hardest part is consistency and doing it again and year after year. And I think that's our biggest challenge this year. I definitely think we have the team, and I felt like we had the team last year in order to make the playoffs. We fell just short. But now it's doing it again and doing it even better, right? Like, we had a good year, but it wasn't good enough. And I think it's on everyone. It doesn't have to be, even really point-based. It can be other things, intangibles, leadership. Guys can grow in different areas to kind of get us over the hump and get us into the playoffs. And I think we're right there. We have great forwards, Marchie, great young forwards. Marchie had a great year last year. Fantilli, we have Sean Monahan. Boone's healthy this year. You're bringing Charlie Coyle. I mean, a lot of great forwards. Then obviously our D, you get Goody back for a full season. You get Proby locked up. Same returners, but we're confident in our group. So I think for us now to take that, that next step to make it, guys can look elsewhere besides just points to kind of take that next step and, maybe do something else for the team. So I think we're in a good spot, but the hardest part's doing it again. So we'll see what happens.
Tim here on the left, second row.
Zach, I know hockey players don't typically focus on, the individual accolades and the things like that, but, with the Olympics coming up in a few months, just represent the men's world. What would it mean to you to represent Team USA in the Olympics, especially with, your experience at the Four Nations and how special that was?
Yeah, I mean, everything. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm going to be thinking about it every day all year. And I think for me, it's one of those things where if I am thinking about it and I am playing well enough to make that team, ultimately I'm helping the team here in Columbus, and that's my goal. That's my main goal is, to do my job here. But at the end of the day, you only get so many cracks at an Olympics. It's my first chance since I've been in the league to play in an Olympic tournament, and definitely not taking it for granted. So obviously I want to do my best here in Columbus for team reasons, and then usually when that stuff works itself out, you end up having individual success, and yeah, that's my goal. Obviously, I want to be on that team, and it'd be a huge honor. I think it'd be one of the greatest honors you could have to represent your country at the Olympics, and I've had great experiences with USA Hockey, whether it's the World Championships or the Four Nations, and hopefully I have a great experience at the Olympics.
Joe, third row right.
There's always a certain amount of unknown coming into each season.
Is there anything that you're curious or interested to see potentially play out during camp or maybe early in the season? Anything you're kind of looking forward to?
Not really. I mean, I'm just excited to be back. It's been, a long off season. I feel good. I feel like our team's in a good spot right now. The last few weeks here have been really good for our group. I think guys are working hard. Guys are pushing each other. I feel like we kind of have an idea of what we want to be to start the season and how we want to play. And I think that's, sometimes you kind of figure that out through training camp. And I feel like for us, we already know what that is. So definitely think that's a positive for us, but there's really nothing I'm looking forward to. I mean, I just want to get out there with the guys and start battling again and just kind of start the real stuff. It's been a long off season of training and practicing, and now it's, it's right there. You can kind of, see the end goal of the season starting. So just excited for that.
Go back right to Adam.
We talk a lot about expectations comparing last year to this season. Do you guys treat the beginning of a season differently based on the expectations, or for you, is it in that locker room, is that nothing? That doesn't mean anything to you guys?
I mean, it's a good question. I think there's definitely different ways to go about it. I feel like obviously we know what happened last season. We were right there to making the playoffs, and you definitely don't want it to, I don't say you don't want it to creep in, because it's a good thing to have expectations and it's a good thing to think we're a playoff team, because I do believe we are. But it is a long season, so if something happens early on and it doesn't go your way at the start, you still have 80-something games or 75 games. So I feel like expectations early on in a season are tough, but you obviously want to get off to a good start, and we know we have the team to do that. And like I said, some of the questions that usually get answered throughout camp, I feel like we already have them answered, which is advantage us. And a lot of the same guys are being brought back, and we're bringing in some great guys from the outside. But I mean, at the end of the day, every year you go into the playoffs hoping into the season hoping you're going to make the playoffs, and it's kind of the same rhetoric every year. But this year, genuinely, I feel like if we're not a playoff team, it's a failure for this group, and I think everyone believes that in our locker room. So excited just to get to work with the guys here in a couple days.
Stay back right, Steven.
Obviously, Zach, you're wearing that number 13 shirt right now. We know who that belonged to. How do you continue to honor Johnny's legacy, kind of, going forward a year plus later?
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll always be with us. Nothing's really going to change in our room. We're always going to honor him the same way, and that's playing hard and enjoying our time at the rink, enjoying our time with our teammates. His stall is always going to be there. We're going to see his jersey hanging. We're going to tell stories. I mean, it's crazy to think it's been over a year already, and we're going to honor him the best way we can. And that's just to play hard and have fun and enjoy each other, and that's the best way to do it.
Go to Mark here, left.
Zach, how beneficial is it going to be when, in previous seasons, there's been a lot of turnover, but this year, especially in the D-core, it's basically the same guys. How beneficial is that from your point of view when you start the new year?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone kind of knows their role and knows what's asked of them, what's expected of them, and I think you can kind of just pick up where you left off. And we obviously had some struggles maybe on the defensive side, keeping the puck out of our net, but you get Goody healthy. You have, Denton Matejchuk's a year older. He's a hell of a player. It's just, there's little things within keeping your group together that really help your group. And I think we're going to get off to a way better start defensively. And part of that's the systems. Part of that's just us being together for, another year now. And just excited to see what we can do. I mean, we have a great D-core in there. It's just on us now to go improve that and do it over and over again. And, yeah, excited for the challenge.
Ed?
With the sizable group of young players that you've already mentioned here, that they pretty much all had breakouts last year, we can see the talent, we can see the numbers, stuff like that. You guys, as veterans, have had a chance 2-3 years now to kind of assess and see these guys and what's on the inside, the intangibles. Is that part of what makes you excited about this group? Just kind of knowing what kind of makes Fantilli tick and Johnson tick and all these type of guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things where they're probably in, they're a year older, so the position is there, and now it's adding to your game besides just like the points and the goals and all that. Right? Like, they're leaders in our room now. I think that's exciting for us as older guys, and it's exciting for them as well. Now we understand them. Like you said, we understand what makes them tick. I understand KJ more on the power play. I understand, as leaders being harder on guys or when to pull back maybe. but I also think it gives them more of a voice too, which is exciting, right? I feel like when guys can really be themselves and really, you know, say what's on their mind and say what they're thinking, whether it's power play or what they see on, you know, breakouts, I think that just gets your team going in the right direction even quicker. And we have a lot of bright hockey minds in our room, and I think a lot of those bright hockey minds are the young guys. And it's all just being on the same page and everyone having a voice and trusting each other. And I feel like we have that right now. And obviously our young guys took huge steps last year, but I wouldn't be surprised to see all of them take huge steps again this year. And it's something to be excited about.
Last one for Zach. We go second row left. Tim.
Zach, you got to play in front of Jack Reeves a couple of times, you know, throughout the last couple of seasons, particularly at the end of last year. How, you know, excited do you feel that are you for, you know, an opportunity for him to have a bigger role, and how good do you think he can be for you guys this season?
Yeah, really excited. I mean, we have great goaltending. We obviously saw what Jet did last season, the last couple of years when he's been up. His numbers are pretty off the charts. So really excited for him to be here. He's a guy that works hard. And I think it's, you know, it's one of those guys everyone kind of roots for a little bit. He shows up, he does his work, doesn't say too much, he's easygoing, and when he plays hard and he makes saves. So, yeah, we love playing in front of Jed and we love playing in front of Elvis. And like I said, we have trust in our goalies, and I'm just happy for him to get that opportunity to showcase himself more and being a full-time NHL player because he deserves it.
Great.
Awesome.
Thanks, Z.
guys.
Bat and clean up, Adam Fantilli.
Everybody's summer. Good? Perfect.
Well, he's got his question out of the way. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Porty.
Adam, how was your summer? And are there specific parts of your game you focused on? What did you try to improve after a really good last season?
My summer was great. I spent June in Toronto and then July and August in Michigan. Nothing different that way. I think this season, or this off season, something I focused on was more tailoring to my needs instead of just, like obviously you guys know, the group we work out with is pretty amazing, and all the players out there is pretty crazy. But sometimes realizing that we're all different players and we all need to work on our individual skills sometimes. So maybe if I took one skate less with those guys and kind of did one on my own, just like some small skill work, trying to improve like the way I see the game, certain puck handles, whatever it might be. I just think I was able to tailor things a little bit more towards what I need.
Mark left.
Yeah, certainly not the result you wanted at the men's worlds, but just what did that experience do for you, being able to watch like Crosby and McKinnon and O'Reilly and others, and how can you implement what you saw into what you want to do?
Yeah, that was something that, one, I'll remember forever, even with the disappointing result. Being in a locker room with guys like Sid, Nate, Fleury, O'Reilly, it's something that'll probably never happen again for me. Obviously, with Fleury retiring and you know, like guys move on, and I just took every day as a gift, and I was super excited to be there, super grateful. You learn so much just by watching Sid, Nate, these guys go through their everyday routines and watching them in practice and in games, the way they interact with each other, the way they work in practice and do extra work and make sure their bodies are ready to go. It teaches you a lot about being a pro, and those are two guys that I think anybody in the league would want to follow. So seeing them up close was great.
Quick follow-up, you mentioned Fleury and the game in Pittsburgh that he's going to have, and then also the pranks. Was that something that you and him kind of got involved with during the men's worlds?
Yeah, I don't know why Mark Tone felt that was needed to tell the media there. That was kind of funny. But yeah, so at the beginning of the tournament, I told Flower that I would like a stick if that was fine with him. And I told him he could prank me for the whole tournament if he felt like that was needed. So I guess he did take that. And he did ask me, he's like, "You sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine." I definitely got what I asked for. It was fun, really, really cool, and I'm really happy that he's going to get that game against us. It's going to be really, really cool. Him to be back in Pittsburgh, obviously that's how everyone's going to mostly remember him, is how great he was on those runs. So he was an amazing guy to be around. I mean, I've never really seen anyone enjoy being around the rink as much as that guy. So again, that was something that I learned a lot from too. So it was great.
Go Rick, back center.
I wanted to ask about Flower too, and obviously that's going to be a big game. You're going to be playing in a sold-out preseason game, which has to be just a different feeling anyway. But do you guys, maybe not so much from coaching down, but internally while you guys have been skating together, have you talked about the idea that one of you could score the last ever goal on Fleury in a professional hockey game? Because that's something that you could take with you.
Yeah, no, haven't thought about it. I don't even know if I'll be playing in that game yet or not. I hope so. That'd be a cool one to play in. I did say to my dad and my brother that I thought I might be the last prank in hockey. Probably not now if you give him a few more days at the rink. So, yeah, I mean, the experience is going to be great. You know they're going to show out for him, and he deserves it. He had a hell of a career, so it's going to be cool to see.
Go to Tim, second row left.
Adam, coming into year 3, now you, from a personal and a team level, now you guys have higher expectations after, from a personal level, what you're able to do, and from a team level, getting closer to playoffs. As a competitor, how exciting is it to have those expectations, and what kind of fuel has that provided to you and the guys over the last 5 months?
Yeah, I forget who I was talking to, but I was saying how grateful I am to have come to this team at the time that I did. Obviously, my rookie year, we weren't in the best position possible, and the year before that was kind of similar. And I feel like since I've gotten here, it's been a progression, and it's been really great to see and be able to build that confidence in ourselves and our locker room, and kind of prove a lot of people wrong with how we performed last year, especially not having Johnny and the injuries that we did. We're all extremely disappointed we didn't make the playoffs. But it's great. I mean, I couldn't be more excited. I mean, I don't even know the best way to put it into words, but we're a confident team now. We expect to make the playoffs, and like I said before, if we don't, it's going to feel like a failure, and that does change a little bit of the way you go into the season. You go in with a little bit more swagger and just expecting to win games. That's kind of how we're feeling about it.
Anyone else from Mo? Joe, back right.
Playing a second year under Dean, where are you guys at this point versus a year ago? How are things different and probably better?
Yeah, the more you play with people, play around people, and play under coaches like that, you get to know them. You get their systems. There's going to be less of a learning curve at the start of this season, which is going to be great. His personality is awesome. It's a lot of fun to be around. So I've always had a blast with it, and I think knowing what to expect going into a season is going to be great for us. It's going to be like we're building off what we did last year, and hopefully staying on the same trajectory.
Go right to Mersey. Go ahead.
Yeah, Adam, Zach was in here and said that a lot of bright hockey minds among young players. First of all, what does that mean, and where do you think you rank among those young players in the hockey minds?
Where do I rank? I don't know. I'd like to put myself in the mix, but I'm not going to give you a number, I guess. When you got guys like Marchenko, Z, KJ, Monty, like these guys are guys that know how to create offense and know how to play the game at a little bit of a different pace, or maybe a little different way. And just hearing them talk and hearing the ideas and kind of collaborating on it, it changes the way you play sometimes. And maybe it's something that the other team might not expect. So being able to hear them and hear the ideas and just be around it and play off each other that way, I think that's something that was helpful for us last year. I know myself and KJ felt like we had a little bit more things to say. Maybe we felt more confident, like explaining ourselves and whatnot. And when the older guys are actually taking what you say and listening to it, even if it might not be the brightest idea at the time, they'll have the conversation with you, which means a lot to younger guys, and to be able to collaborate on certain stuff and then go out on the ice and try and execute it, it means a lot.
Go second row left here, Tim.
Adam, you got that playoff push you guys made in March and April. What did that show you about what you need to work on to kind of take the next step in your career, and what progress do you feel like you've made in those areas over the last 5 months?
Yeah, I said before last season that something that from the first part of the season to the second part of the season last year, I had to slow down a little bit in the D zone. I was kind of getting ahead of myself and trying to get on offense right away instead of like staying where I needed to be. And as a centerman, that's something you got to learn to always be in the right spot, and that makes your D's life a lot easier. Over the summer, like I said, I worked on specific small things that I think I'm going to need to be the player that I want to be for this team, and just growing with guys like KJ and Monty and Marchie and Z. So watching them and hearing them and knowing how they're going to be performing helps you play off them and helps you know what to expect.
Edge.
Adam, we haven't known you too long, but long enough to know you're a pretty confident guy. When we talk about your game in particular, was it important to have just aside from stats, just to kind of see it happen last year for yourself? You were a 30-goal scorer in your second season. Just to kind of be able to envision, you knew what you wanted to be, but just to see it happen, how big of a step was that for you?
Yeah, it was huge. Having my rookie year end the way it did, it was kind of sour, and coming in and not having the start that I had wanted last season, to be able to kind of flip it around and have a great end of the season gave me a lot of confidence going into this year. I mean, it's being able to have success offensively. It definitely changes your mentality going into the next season, and it's kind of what I'm going to try and do this year.
Great. Anything else for Adam? All right. Thanks.
Great. Cheers, guys.
Thanks, Mo. Appreciate you coming.